So the common misconception, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, if you multiply by I in the top and the bottom, and well then if you apply distributive property here, what you'll have, Raphael, is you'll have 3i squared, which is good. Then you have negative 2i plus I squared. Well, we know that I squareds go to negative 1. But the issue with this is I still have an I in the denominator, right? Because you have to apply distributive property. So if you're just multiplying by I, that's not going to eliminate the I in the denominator. So rather than multiplying by I, which is wrong, we need to make sure we multiply by the conjugate. And the conjugate is going to be exactly the same expression. However, we're going to use the opposite sign of our I. Does everybody see what I did? I just used the oops, negative 2. It's called the conjugate. C-O-N-G-U-G-E. Conjugate. Conjugate. So basically, we're multiplying. It's the exact same expression, except the I, instead of it being positive, it's negative. If the original is negative, it's now going to be positive. Now let's see what happens. Here we have to apply distributive property. So I get a negative 6i minus 3i squared. On the bottom, we have to apply FOIL. So we multiply them outer, inner, and last. I'll multiply this again out just to make sure we no problems. So that becomes a positive 4, negative 2i, plus 2i. And then this becomes a negative I squared. So now let's simplify all the I squareds to negative 1. So that becomes a negative 1. So I have negative 6i minus 3 times negative 1 all over. This becomes, these add to 0. So I'm left with 4 minus a negative 1. Does everybody follow me so far? I squared is negative 1 minus I squared minus a negative 1. Anybody have any questions? Did I lose anybody? Anybody want me to reiterate anything? We're good. Yes.
Cancel out the I squared?
Nope, they don't. You don't cancel out. You can only apply to division property when terms are separated by multiplication and division. So since these terms are separated by addition and subtraction, we can't divide out using the division property. So therefore, this multiplies to give you 3. This multiplies to give you negative 6. So it's negative 6 plus 3. That becomes over 5. Oops, that's I, right? OK, now, a couple things we need to remember. First of all, if I did this, x plus 1, everybody remembers distributive property, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're using multiplication, the same thing applies with division. If you're dividing an expression by 3, and the expressions are separated by addition and subtraction, both of these terms are separated by 3, by dividing by 3. It's like the exact same thing in distributive property. That's 3x plus 3. So I need to divide this 5 into both of these terms. So it's negative 6i over 5 plus 3 over 5. OK? And then the last thing that we did not cover yet is, if you guys remember the things about the break-in, you got to make this, write this in